My name is Cameron Miller. I'm 20 years old. I'm a junior here at Colorado State University. Growing up, it was pretty difficult. I grew up with two older sisters. Now I have four older sisters, which is kind of an interesting mix. Or yes, I have five older sisters. And so growing up, dad was in the military. Mom was a stay-at-home mom all the way from the ages up until 10 years old. Dad was incredibly disciplined. And mom was very opposite, very type B. Dad was very type A. And I just gravitated towards my mom, if that makes sense. Just very loving, is charismatic, very careful with her words. Just a mama's boy. And so one day it was the day before winter break in 5th grade, and my sisters were in middle school. My one sister was in middle school, my oldest sister was in high school. And so they were gone, and my mom sat me down on her lap at the table and was like, "Cam, I love you," and just gave me some words of encouragement, and kind of just sent me off on my day. And I walked out the door and I walked to the bus stop, and I came home that night, and my sisters were home, and my dad came home from work later, but my mom was never home. And so we called her a couple times and there was no response. And so we just asked my dad, and my dad was kind of, "Hey, she's a grown woman, she can handle herself. I'm sure she's okay." And I mean, this is when it was kind of like flip phones and stuff like that. So communication wasn't the best. So that night we just all went to sleep. And the next morning we woke up, and my dad wakes up and he's like, "Now that you guys are on break, these are what the chores you got to do, and here's what all the stuff that we have to get done for this weekend," because that's just the way that he was. And so we woke up and he made us breakfast, and then he told us everything we had to get done, and then he would go out and start preparing whatever, the shovels or whatever needed to be used for the day. And then he just runs back in, and his face was just white. And just blank, and he was his hands were kind of shaky, and he just told us leave the house, just go to the neighbors. And at the time I was 10 years old, and so I was 10. My middle sister was 12, and then my oldest sister was 14. And so we went to the neighbor's house, and we kind of just sat there, and that's where it kind of clicked. And we watched an ambulance pull up, and then a fire truck pull up, and then cops pull up. And I think that's where it clicked, where something is wrong, and then something is wrong with our mom. That is the situation that we kind of put together as young kids. And so we kind of just sat there, and we watched as the neighbors gathered, and we looked out the window of our neighbors, and we watched them cry. And we never saw our dad, and then our dad came and got us from our neighbor's house, and it was kind of like, "Hey, we're gonna go to the police station. My middle sister Laura, you go with Dad, and I went with my oldest sister Courtney, and we rode in the back of the cop car to the police station. And they split us up as in two. So I was with my oldest sister, my middle sister was with my dad, and just kind of asked us a bunch of questions, just kind of the general "Hey, what were you doing? Where were you at?" All that type of stuff. And then finally my dad came into the room with my other sister and kind of told us the news that my mom committed suicide. And I didn't know how to react, and I just wept, and I think we all just wept. And it was the first time I've ever seen my dad cry. It was the most emotional I've ever seen my father. It was the most emotional I've ever seen my family. It has made me who I am, and I don't think I would change that. Obviously I would love to give my mom a hug again and to hear those words that she said to me. But death is something that happens to everyone. And so, but with me having to deal with that at a very young age, I think just matured me in ways that I didn't want to be matured, but in some ways was forced to. And so I'm grateful for that.